Hey guys, so recently I've been getting annoyed by a wheel hop problem that the C5's been having. Normally happens at the top of first gear, right around 5,000 RPM and all the way to 6,500, where it gets wheel hop if it starts to slip and spin on the street. Or if I want to do a burnout, sometimes it'll get some serious wheel hop, and obviously that's not good. So what I like to do with my vehicles is I look at all the different things that could be part of the equation of the problem. And if there's anything that's a maintenance item that's been neglected or is ready to be replaced, I like to just tackle those first because it's kind of an item that I want to take care of anyway. So I decided to go with some new shocks, and with about 2 or 3 hours of research on the wonderful Corvette forum, it seemed very common for the Bilsteins. There's the Sport and the HD. A lot of people like those. But another popular upgrade for even a little cheaper that seems actually more popular and more satisfaction by the reviewers on the Corvette forum is to go ahead and upgrade the C5 to C6 Z06 Shocks, which when you think about it, these shocks for this vehicle were probably engineered right around 1999, 2000. So if you go with the 2013 Z06 shock, that's another 15 years of, or give or take 13 years of research and development, those sorts of things, and obviously for a higher performance package on the Z06. So I decided to go ahead after all the reviews I read, and I ordered up a set of Z06 shocks front and rear. We're going to go ahead and install them. We'll start with the rear, and want you follow along. Okay, we're going to start with the rear end here. The first step is to get the vehicle off the ground, either with a jack in the back or lift or whatever you have to get the vehicle up in the air. Next, we're going to take off the rear tire. It gives us access to the shock absorber here. This is the passenger side rear. Next step, I'm going to remove the large bolt that goes through the A-arm, and then we'll remove this small, I think 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters that go up here to the chassis. Okay, this bottom bolt, I show it as a 15/16. There's probably a closer metric equivalent, but 15/16 works fine without messing up the bolt. So that's out. I put a jack stand underneath the A-arm to relieve the pressure pulling down on the shock, so it's nice and loose. Now we just have to remove the 1/2 inch bolts that attach it to the chassis. Super easy, folks. 2 1/2 inch bolts attach it to the chassis. Kind of makes me wonder how the coilover spring is strong enough here. I'm not convinced that GM engineered that to be strong enough to have all the spring weight held up here, as opposed to the composite spring that they've got engineered to the cradle. Anyway, super easy. Just used a 1/2 inch with a ratchet that has a bend in it and got them off with no problems whatsoever. Now we got to try to fish the shock out between the A-arm and the axle shaft. All right, I've got the stock 2003 shock on the left and the Z06 shock on the right. Took a little fishing to get it out. What worked best is to kind of compress the shock as best I could. Mine still has pressure, so it was pushing out. And once it became shorter, I was able to kind of finagle it out between the axle and the A-arm. So no need to take the toe link off or anything like that. The first thing that's most notable here between the Z06 shock here on the right and the 03 shock on the left is the diameter. So here's the diameter set to the Z06 shock, and there's the diameter of the stock 2003 shock. So definitely some physical differences. The links appear to be same. Everything else, from what I've read on the forums, is that these are totally interchangeable. So let's go ahead and get this installed. Okay, one little trick to be able to finagle the new shock in. Have somebody compress the shock for you. Take an old coat hanger and get it strapped in there so it holds it compressed until you get it in place. It really is that easy, folks. Once you get the shock up into the area it needs to be, then you can remove the coat hanger and the shock will expand. It does seem like if you rotate the top part here 180 degrees, one side you'll see fits tighter, the other side has more of a gap. So I spun it till I found the 180 that brings it tighter to the chassis. Now I'm just starting all the bolts hand tight, and we'll go 22 foot-pounds on these, And I'm going to go a little light on these down here. I'm going to just go like 100 foot-pounds, 120. The spec's a lot higher than that, but that seems awfully tight for just a main shock bolt. So 120 it is. You should look up your own specs and make your own decisions if you're going to vary from what GM recommends. Okay guys, that was actually pretty painless. We probably have about 20 minutes into changing out this shock, so not too big of a deal. We're going to jump to the other side and knock that one out next. Okay, we did the driver's side as well. There's really nothing different to report for the driver's side, same thing. Larger bolt down here, a couple of 1/2-inch bolts up here. Compress them as best you can to get them out of here without taking off the toe link here. And definitely use a piece of coat hanger to compress them and hold them until you get them into the location here before you let them extend out. If they're fully extended, it's, I think, pretty much impossible to get them into place. So the rear end's done. I'm dying to take it for a ride to see if the wheel hop situation has changed at all. Hopefully these can help control any sort of rear end movement much better than the stock 2003 base model C5 shocks. Hey, that does it for this video. If you liked the video, please remember to hit thumbs up and to subscribe.